Hello and welcome to the Octane 2022 Virtual Summit. My name is Samuel Hill, the Director of Product Marketing here at Ciolo. And today's topic is the last mile. We're talking about securing legacy and non-SAML applications. Again, welcome to the Octane Virtual Summit. Grateful for you taking a few minutes of your time to chat with us. At Ciolo, our mission is to safely connect people to work, and this includes everyone, connecting to everything that they need to do their job, and only those things from everywhere, from all the places that they need to do their work. And this is a real challenge. Connecting people to work is very, very complex. There are a lot of different types of users, from administrators to remote workers nowadays. We're all working from home, it seems. Folks that are still on site, or even an operational technology system, or our partners, or third parties, folks that would access our networks on our behalf but don't work for us. We're all coming in via different types of devices, whether they're managed or unmanaged, and we're using a whole host of tools to manage and administer this access, from the privileged account management to using a VPN, or making sure we're accessing cloud applications the right way with a CASB or something. If we have to do some real direct connections, we use terminals with RDP, that type of connectivity into sensitive areas. We have the network access control that's trying to enforce network policies, and ADC that allows which apps and which web apps especially what are presented. ZTNA, which then kind of helps to administer access to different network resources. Okta, which is leading the way in identity provision, making sure users are valid and validated and in the Okta portal. And then also just other user directories, whether it's a company's Active Directory or things like that. We have all these different methods to provide security to the users that are connecting to work. And then there's a lot of places they're trying to connect you, whether it's the cloud data centers or highly critical sensitive networks like a manufacturing line, on-site data centers, or their SaaS applications, or their on-site applications. The different remote applications, just different things that are being presented from these areas, whether it's a server itself, or their containers and workloads, or remote and VDI instances. All the work, there's such a wide variety of ways that we're working. We're all working from a wide variety of places. And the way that we're connecting people to work is very, very complex today. Unfortunately, there are tools to help us with this. And again, using Okta as an identity provider is a great step and helps secure a lot of these applications and systems for the users that are trying to access them. But the statistics remain. 50% of organizations have at least 100 third-party vendors. And 96% of enterprises allow third-party access to critical systems. And for privileged access, we're seeing 49% of organizations have users with more access than they actually need to do their job. What that means is a user that should only be able to access these 10 applications is given and granted access to 25 applications. And we see that 34% of breaches in the last couple of years have involved the compromise of privileged user accounts. And while we're all working from home lately, it seems 50% of organizations do not have a remote work security policy. What they're doing is they're trying to extend the existing policies, ones that they had designed for people who were in their building or using other tools, other ways of communicating into the network, trying to extend those same policies to those of us that are now working from home primarily. And scarily, a full third of organizations do not authenticate remote workers. They don't really provide any form of identity challenge. They just allow them into the network. And for reporting and compliance, 57% of organizations struggle to deliver the compliance metrics they need with their current methods. It takes a lot of time and effort to gather this data, and a lot of times they can't get that data. And they're not able to provide it because they're not able to achieve it, specifically for some of the things we're going to talk about today. And it takes, on average, about 90 days to produce the type of metrics and data and reporting they need to support the regulatory audits or security audits or different things that are investigating their security posture. It takes a long time to gather the data they need. At Ciolo, we're an identity-based access control platform, and we work alongside our partners at Okta to help enforce identity-based access across a wide variety of use cases. We do a little bit of privileged account management, We do all that most ZTNA providers can do. We help to ensure secure remote access. We help to federate identity providers. This is great for mergers and acquisitions. If you have multiple identity providers, being able to use all of them to validate your users without having to create multiple user accounts. Work to help modernize identity, and we can support Okta in extending MFA and SSO and lifecycle management to some critical areas, the last mile of application security. So what is the last mile? And the last mile of application security is an application or system that does not support modern authentication. Most applications and systems today, they have the ability to interact with all of the great security tools that are available in the market. If we can think of it and dream it, they can probably support it, whether it's the identity providers, whether it's using all those other tools that we showed in the slide before to connect users to work. Those applications and systems are ready. They're ready to communicate, they're ready to work together, and you can create an experience that's highly secure and hopefully works well for the users that are trying to access it. But what about those that can't work with those tools? Maybe they were built many, many years ago. Maybe they're in your network because they're of a certain age and we can't do anything about it. Or there's a lot of those reasons why those applications still exist. And Gartner estimates that 90% of current applications will still be in use 3 years from today. So they're not going anywhere. They're not going to be changing anytime soon. And updating and upgrading them is a challenge. These applications, they don't understand SAML. They don't work with OIDC or OAuth or LADP or any of the other discovery protocols or assertion protocols or tools that are used to validate user identity. They're just not capable of it. And so upgrading that application is tough. It's difficult. And so modern tools are left with a challenging proposition. They need their customers to do one of two things. So typically, when you're faced with a last mile application, you have two options. The first one is to upgrade the application. Now, this would be ideal in a perfect world where we had all the money we needed, we had all the time we needed, we had all the resources we needed. This would be ideal. And unfortunately, we do not live in a perfect world. And if you are working at a company that is in that perfect world, please let me know. I'd love to apply. The pros of upgrading the application is that you get a modern authentication infrastructure. You can start interacting with your tools like Okta. You'll also get improved performance as the application will be hosted in a modern, maybe cloud-friendly, agile framework that you can then deliver and improve performance for that application itself. And you'll probably also get a lot of additional features, things that are not capable for your organization today because of the uniqueness of that application or its age or anything else. But unfortunately, all of those features come with a cost. It's very expensive to perform this upgrade, not just financially, but also in the amount of time that it'll take to do the job. And this time is also very disruptive to the business. Now, this application, the reason it hasn't either been retired or upgraded is because it's probably very critical to the business. And a lot of times we see this, it's an enterprise resource planning tool, an ERP. A lot of times it's a supply chain. A lot of times maybe it's finance or HR or core business applications that are essential to the functioning of a business. And so performing the work to upgrade them disrupts core business functions. And a lot of times in today's economic climate, executives and boards are not really interested in hearing how it's going to take us, even 3 months to upgrade our core business structure, knowing that it's going to significantly disrupt the performance of the company. On the other side, you can leave the application alone. And now this is the reality. We know this is not the ideal option, but unfortunately, it's the real option. This is what a lot of people are doing today. It leaves you with the place of, you don't have to spend any money because you're not forced to upgrade it. Your business will continue running as normal. You don't have to do any change management or even retraining of users on a new workflow or a new system or tool. All of it kind of stays the same, and your business kind of keeps chugging along the way that it's always done. But on the other side, it's very insecure. This application is it's a source of a lot of nightmares for your security team. It's not compliant. One of the main questions is on a cybersecurity audit for insurance purposes or regulatory compliance is, Now, can you provide MFA? Do you provide MFA for all of your applications and systems? And with some of these legacy applications, the answer is no, we can't. And then also, there's a very poor audit trail. A lot of times, these applications will have a generic username and password where you have a lot of users in that one specific department who are all using, admin at admin.com, and the password is password. And that level of generic username and password makes it impossible to truly tell who actually logged into the application, and causes security teams to sit around when something bad does happen and say, who the heck is user one? Who is admin? I don't know, but somebody got in, something bad happened. We don't have an audit trail to be able to understand or fix that bad issue. So what are some of the common applications that you might find that are concerning, that bring challenges to the modern identity infrastructure, that do not work well with tools like Okta? One of them is kind of a legacy non-SAML application. Now, there are a lot of manufacturers out there that have older versions of their applications that customers are still using. And that reality is those customers still need them to function, and their businesses require them. And again, you'd be surprised, you may have one or two in your environment. So checking to see if there's an application that cannot use SAML, OIDC, OAuth, LADP, any of the other protocols that we use to validate identity today. If they're not able to interact with those in that framework, then it's a challenge for modern tools like Okta. Other one would be mainframe computing environments, where these critical applications are running on very old computing hardware. And finally, it's the homegrown applications, where at one point it was cheaper and more effective to have the application developed in-house, but it's now been maybe a decade since that application was developed, and the team that built it is long gone, but it's still running a key part of your business. So with these non-SAML applications, they're older, but they're still in use, and they support critical workloads. They struggle to support single sign-on. You can't provide a seamless experience for your users to get into that application. Most do not support SAML or OIDC or other languages or other techniques. And if they're of a certain age, they might be an on-premises version, but now that manufacturer has created many cloud versions and are wanting and looking forward to customers upgrading to the cloud version. So their legacy versions will indeed lag behind on the cloud version. So a lot of performance issues, a lot of feature issues, known vulnerabilities are still existing in these applications. Turning on the modern languages like OIDC typically requires someone very expert who's a specialist, and you have to pay them a lot of money in consulting hours or project hours to achieve some of this work. And you might have to expand that application or add additional features or licenses to fully support a zero trust approach. And lacking a cohesive access control prevents you from getting good reporting on the things that are accessing your critical business resources. And using generic username and password certainly prevents audit reporting. How do we tell who is user one when everyone uses the user one username and the password is password, like I said before? And then once somebody gets in, if they have unauthorized access, it easily allows lateral movement that can unfortunately lead to control of other systems, things we certainly want to prevent. With mainframe computing environments, you would be really surprised how many are still out there. And in fact, some of the research we've done have shown that 44 out of the top 50 banks, healthcare, and government agencies rely on mainframes for business critical applications. This is a challenge. These mainframes are older, their code strings and their hardware is very old and a lot of known vulnerabilities, but replacing them it's a non-starter conversation for the business, as they have to face the reality of it is better to endure the security risk than to embrace the cost of upgrading and changing this application. And so mainframes are often based on decades old technology, which means that they've got decades old vulnerabilities and exploitable loopholes and problems. So a lot of very simple techniques, tactics, and procedures that bad actors use. A lot of very simple ones will be very effective against these environments. These mainframes certainly cannot support a modern identity infrastructure, security protocols, or standards. And these are running very critical, highly sensitive pieces of information. finance, healthcare, government, insurance. These are highly regulated industries, and a lot of people care very deeply about what happens with their personal information. I know all of us as individuals would certainly not want our bank sharing our information. With the homegrown applications, they might be around for a while. The coders are long gone. The team that built it is no longer there. And, they probably did not build that application with modern security in mind. In fact, it's almost a guarantee. And as our founders say here at Ciolo, every line of code is mathematically proven. Every code it's got vulnerabilities in it. There's no such thing as bug-free code. And so whatever was built 10, 15 years ago, whatever bugs were there are just now 10 to 15 years older and have been kind of hardened into the system. And, adding modern identity and modern identity protocols to enforce access control to these applications require very specialized knowledge of that specific application and obviously of platforms like Okta. And so really prioritizing that work for an IT shop or a web dev shop or a DevOps shop, it's not going to make the top of the list very often. So these applications that were built for a specific purpose in that company and custom built for it, they typically don't support, again, the modern security protocols or languages. They usually allow a generic username and password. And a lot of times they'll have like backdoor username and passwords that maybe somebody found, and so they're using the backdoor to get in the front door. It's all messed up. And these applications certainly contain very sensitive information, and impacts to them would negatively affect the business from an operational perspective, and probably from a reputational and customer perspective as well. So these are the kind of three main categories of applications and systems you might find in your environment that modern identity infrastructure would struggle to protect or help you protect. So at Ciolo, we exist to help safely connect people to work. So we take the users on the left across any of the devices, and they access the Ciolo cloud. And so however they're coming in, we know we use tools like Okta to validate their identity. And so they come in, say it's a remote worker who's coming in on a managed device, and they come in and we see that they have validated their identity using Okta, and it says, yep, we know who you are, you're in, you're valid. They're now in the Ciolo platform. And Ciolo then says, well, what permissions, what entitlements does that specific user who's coming in from a remote location on a managed device, what are they entitled to? And we present only those things as options for that user. So then they click into that specific system, call it a legacy application. They click on the legacy application, and Ciolo then provides the secret password that's continuously rotated and does all of the assertion and input for the user on their behalf, making a true SSO experience, even for a legacy critical system. And so with that, I'll finish my time by thanking you for spending it with me. I hope you've enjoyed this Octane Virtual Summit, and we hope to help you safely connect users to work, especially those legacy last mile applications and systems, to help you extend the Okta identity portfolio to your critical systems. Thank you for your time. Look forward to chatting with you in the near future.